I'm about to show you how you can give yourself your own happy ending, and it doesn't rely on having a man or having a house or being rich or whatever kind of idealistic goals you have in your mind. It is all down to you. I'm going to put the timestamps next to me or in the description box below, so make sure you check it out. You can skip to whatever part of the video you'd like to watch. So first of all, what is this myth of a happy ending? Well, a lot of the time we get told like, oh, just wait, wait till you meet that significant other or that significant partner, and then your life really starts to get going. Like, that's when life really begins. And those kinds of sayings and mindsets are so toxic because it's placing so much emphasis on this other person, this external source coming into your life and giving you all the things that you should be giving yourself in the first place. And remember that there is so much power in knowing that you can give yourself that happy ending and you don't need to rely on anyone else to do it. And so you may be wondering, well, how do I give it to myself then? Like, how do I control my own happy ending? And I'm about to tell you guys. It is so simple, and it all starts with yourself. And this is also why I'm talking about it in my Golden Mind Frame series. But as soon as you start to invest in yourself, as soon as you start to work on your self-respect, your self-love, your self-belief, once you see growth in those areas, it translates into all the areas of your life. And it has like a positive multiplier effect. Like, instead of looking outside for attention, for acceptance, for love, give it to yourself. And if you are thinking like, how do I give it to myself? Well, I've got some examples. For example, like self-acceptance, it can look like finally forgive yourself for like a mistake you did years ago. Once you start to forgive yourself, that's a form of self-acceptance. And the only person that can give you a feeling of acceptance to the highest degree is yourself, because no one else knows you like yourself. But another example is self-love. You can decide that you don't want to give that negative inner voice a platform and you want to silence it, and instead give rise to the kinder voice and change and nurture your voice so that you speak to yourself kindly in the morning. So when you wake up, like, how am I going to start my day? I'm going to start doing this, X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do my goals. So I'm going to read my book because I really want to read it. Another example of self-love is not allowing people to cross your boundaries when you set them firmly. That's a very, very important example of self-preservation, because you're showing not only others, but mainly you're showing to yourself, like, I care about you. And if someone tries to cross my boundaries, that's not going to happen. And they can try, but we won't let. Like, it's kind of like a two-people team almost. Like, you're trying to help yourself. And also just spend time with yourself. Like, take yourself on solo dates. I think that's so fun. Like going to the cinema by yourself or going to eat food by yourself. And the best part is that once you start to understand this formula, and once you start to learn to give yourself the self-respect, self-love, self-belief, you will realize that those cravings that you had in the past, where you were like, oh, but I really need like that love from this person or that attention from this person, those cravings fade. You don't have those cravings anymore. And instead, because you can give it to yourself now, you don't feel like hungry for it for another person. And once that, like, those distractions and that feeling goes away, it's so peaceful, because it's like, I can give it to myself. Like, you can sit in that room and all those distractions, all those temptations, like, oh, attention from that person or love from that person, or what do they think about me? And instead you could just think, like, I can do all these things for myself. I am my biggest provider, biggest carer. And people can obviously shower you in love and affection and gratitude, and you can take that in. Of course, you should absorb that all and give it back and reciprocate it. But it's so nice knowing that you can do that to yourself and you can fill your own cup first. And the best part about that is when people do then shower you with love and shower you with attention, it's not like they're filling this empty bucket. It's not like they're filling your cravings, because the thing with cravings is that they don't stop. Like, once you feel a craving, it'll come back again, like a week later or a month later or a few days later. But when you fill your own cup first, like I said in my last video, just filling your own cup, and once you do it, then you don't have this craving anymore, because you've given it to yourself. It's an endless supply, or at least you know how to restock it. Just remember that the key to this happy ending is just knowing yourself, taking time to know yourself, spending time with yourself, improving your self-love, your self-respect, your self-belief. Idea that you have to wait for someone to come into your life. Like, for example, the common stereotype is that, like, oh, I'm waiting for the perfect Prince Charming to like walk into my life and then suddenly everything's gonna be perfect. Like, no, that's not how it works. And obviously someone might come into your life and make a great positive impression, but you have to have those, like, that foundation, that core mind frame of self-belief, self-worth, having a strong sense of self-worth, knowing that if I get treated badly, that's not how I should be treated, and walking away. Again, that comes with self-respect. So all these things, I just think it is so worth setting aside time, months, years, to focus on that and focus on these little things, because once you have it nailed down, once you understand it, and once you can implement it in your life, like, the results are just so worth it. So because once it doesn't matter who you are, once you start to work on a sense of self-worth, people will be like, oh wow, like, they're exuding so much confidence, like so much energy, like, where did they get this from? And it's magnetic. Set aside that time, watch videos like this, and learn about it, and learn about how you can improve it. And before I finish this video, I'm going to put some examples. I'm just going to write some down and just throw them at you, so that you have some examples and ideas of how you can set this into practice, how you can practice it, whether it's attracting the wrong kinds of guys, whether it's allowing your friends to cross your boundaries. Some kind of negative pattern, I find, often leads to a great self-discovery for self-improvement. Because once you spot that negative pattern in your life, say for example, you continuously let your friends cross your boundaries, you're too much of a people pleaser, and you just are afraid to say no. Well, first of all, you have to be aware of it. This is why I think journaling is so important, because first of all, you need that self-awareness of the fact that your sense of self-worth is so low, or the fact that you don't respect yourself enough or as much as your friends do. And it's just like, how do I fill myself up like they have? And so once you're self-aware of the fact that you have this negative pattern, then you can set your intention to try and break it. And that is the most powerful thing, because once you know exactly what you're targeting, then eventually you will break it and you will stop the negative pattern. Once you've become self-aware of that negative pattern, that you continue to do that, then you can think about, well, something has to change in my life. I have to do something differently to change and to break that pattern. So once you start to realize that, once you start to think, well, actually, I don't need to be a passive person. This is my life. Like, you control your happy ending. You have complete control of it. No person's going to come in and decide that's your happy ending. And as much as the TV shows and the films love to show that, just remember that once you invest and once you work on yourself, everything else won't matter, because you will see the results like tenfold. You will see all the results in your life. But just remember, working on yourself is the first and most important step. And everything else after that will come with ease, with absolute ease.